Hey, how are you guys doing? Today we're going to talk about why people buy things. More specifically, why they end up buying it from where they do. Let's say you wanted to buy a toothbrush. Where are you going to buy it from? The drugstore, the grocery store? Well, it really depends. Are you at a store right now that sells toothbrushes? Is there a special toothbrush you want that's only available at a certain place? Or maybe you're friends with someone who sells toothbrushes. The possibilities are endless. So we're going to talk about the 4 main reasons someone will choose to buy something from a particular store as opposed to from another one. In other words, what makes them buy from you? We'll use the acronym 1CCR. I made the acronym myself, so bear with it. It stands for one of a kind, cheap, convenient, and relationship. The first reason people will buy from you is if your product is one of a kind. Where I'm from, it's nearly impossible to find a tongue brush. It's like a toothbrush for your tongue, and the only place I could find it is half an hour away from my house. So whenever I have to replace my tongue brush, that's the only place for me to go. If something just like the tongue brush is one of a kind and people want it, they will have to buy it because there is no other alternative. The same goes for other products like phones as well. Some people, like my grandmother, just wants a phone to make calls. For them, any phone works because it does what they want it to do. If she gets a phone with like email or something, it's not going to matter to her because she doesn't even know how to use it. On the other hand, other people want a phone that has artificial intelligence. One that they can say, "Siri, tell me what the weather is like today," and the phone tells you what the weather is like. For those people, an iPhone is their only option. That's because it has Siri, the virtual assistant. So if something is one of a kind, people will buy it over something else. The second reason people will buy from you is if your product is cheap. Everyone wants a good deal. This goes way back to the first principle we ever learned in business: supply and demand. The cheaper the product, the more demand there is for it. Let's say I wanted to buy a banana. To me, a banana from store X is exactly the same as a banana from store Y. Therefore, I will probably buy the cheaper one. When something is not one of a kind, people will usually buy the cheapest one. The third reason someone will buy from you is convenience. Imagine you were buying your tongue brush and you realized that you needed milk as well. If the store you're in also sold milk, you would probably buy it from there as well, even if it's slightly more expensive. And that's because it saves you a trip to the grocery store just to buy a carton of milk. In other words, customers in this case aren't just buying the product. Instead, they are buying convenience. When something is convenient, depending on how much the person values the level of convenience, they might choose to buy it over a cheaper alternative somewhere else. The last reason people will buy from you is relationship. Let's say I need to subscribe to an internet provider, and the 2 companies I'm debating on have exactly the same deal. The only difference is I've dealt with one of them before, and I received excellent customer service. I would probably buy from that provider because we formed a relationship already. When people make choices between 2 competitors they have no prior information on, even the slightest bit of familiarity could sway the choice in their direction. I was listening to a speech from Jack Ma, the founder of Alibaba, and he was saying that he chose Alibaba for the name of the company because it could be easily pronounced by any language. The simplest of things, such as how easy it is to pronounce the company name, could form a sense of relationship. On the flip side, relationships could be actual solid relationships, such as my toothbrush example in the very beginning. If you were looking to buy a toothbrush and your best friend sells them, you would probably buy from him or her. In my plant business, I have a few repeat customers that buy from me all the time. That's because we built a relationship. Also, it's sort of convenient at the same time because they can just send me the order instead of going through the effort of finding another supplier. So those are the 4 main reasons people end up buying their product at a particular place. To recap, 1CCR stands for one of a kind, cheap, convenient, and relationship. People will buy from you instead of your competitor if your product is one of those 4 things. Successful companies focus on one of these factors when designing their products. focusing on a secondary factor can be beneficial as well, but just keep in mind that some combinations cannot be used together. For example, if your product is unique, it shouldn't be cheap. And that's because when something is one of a kind, people will buy it at a higher price anyway. So lowering the price and making it cheaper will only cut your profits. That's all for today. I hope you learned a thing or two, but most importantly, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you next week.